In this next section, we'll be reversing what we did in the previous ones. Rather than being given an inequality and graphing it, you're given the graph and you're writing the inequality. Remember from before that inequalities that had either a strictly greater than or a strictly less than sign ended up having open circles in their graphs. And inequalities that had equal to signs as part of them ended up having colored in circles as their graphs. So for this first one, we'll see that we've got this open circle at the -3. So the -3 is my cutoff point, which means my inequality is going to be either x is greater than -3, x is less than -3, x is greater than or equal to -3, or x is less than or equal to -3. Because it's an open circle, that tells me that it has to be either strictly a greater than or a less than. All we're going to do is take a guess and then do a test point and see whether or not it works. So let's take a guess that it is a greater than sign. And notice, for example, that -5 is a point that should make my inequality true since it's shaded. So if I were to plug in a -5 for this x, I'd get -5 is greater than -3. Well, that's false, which means when I guessed that this original inequality was a greater than sign, it means that I was wrong. I should have guessed a less than sign. So you're just going to take a guess, you're going to do a checkpoint, and if you're right, great. If not, switch it. Let's move on to the next one. Our cutoff point is a 5. It's not colored in, so it's either strictly greater than or strictly less than. We're just going to take a guess that maybe it's a greater than. 7 is an example of a number that's shaded. So that means when I plug in a 7 for x, I should get a true statement. 7 is greater than 5. That is true. So I had a lucky guess this time. My first guess was correct and I didn't have to switch my inequalities. All right, the next one has the cutoff point at -2. But this time, the cutoff point is a colored in circle, which means that my two choices are either greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Just like before, I'm just going to take a guess. I'm going to guess that maybe it's greater than or equal to. And then look at my graph and say, for example, 0 is something that is shaded, so it should make a true statement. 0 is greater than or equal to -2. That's true, so I had a lucky guess and I was right the first time, and I don't have to change my solution. It's x is greater than or equal to -2. One last one here. My cutoff point is a 10. It's a colored in circle, which means there's going to be an equal to sign. I'm just going to take a guess that maybe it's a greater than or equal to. When I plug in an 8, I should get a true statement since it's part of the shaded value. When I plug in the 8, I get 8 is greater than or equal to 10. That's false, which means I had an unlucky guess on my first try. And rather than a greater than or equal to sign, these should really be less than or equal to signs. So my final answer is x is less than or equal to 10.